Hey, this is Ricky ROXX, and you are listening to ROXX100.com.
The Big Rock.
The Big Rock. Keeping the music alive.
Bon Jovi. Lenny Kravitz.
Hey, all you rockers. This is Johnny J, your host for The Big Rock. Catch me right here on ROXX 100 as we are keeping the music alive, rocking the 70s, 80s, and 90s. The Big Rock on ROXX 100.
Rock. The Big Rock.
The Big Rock.
Everything that rocks.
Hey kids, would you like to be a rock god the likes of David Lee Roth in his heyday? Then you need to get the
RIKKI ROXX Rock God Starter Kit.
Each kit comes complete with black nail polish, eyeliner, sparkly scarf, an actual chick magnet, a velvet jacket to make all the girls go wild, and an over-the-hat skull cap with bandana accessory. Act Now will also include a handy booklet showing you all the best places to wear your sunglasses at night. Regularly a $29.95 value, now yours free when you take advantage of this fabulous offer. But don't act just yet. We'll also throw in a wall poster chart diagramming all the best rock faces to enchant your audience, proven to wet the ladies' panties in mere seconds. For all you newbies, this great kit also includes a CD demonstrating how to push your voice for the radio, taught by RIKKI ROXX himself. So quit being a big puss and man up rock style with the
RIKKI ROXX Rock God Starter Kit.
Now yours for just $29.95 plus $99.95 shipping and handling. Call now. 1-800-ROCK-GOD. That's 1-800-ROCKGOD. Now. Operators and tattooed hookers are standing by to take your order.
Feel your best before making an arrest. What you gonna pick? Cop pockets when you don't want something salady. Avoid police brutality. What you gonna pick? Cop pockets.
Cop pockets, filled with juicy jelly, mouth-watering maple and bacon, and creamy custard on a crispy donut.
When you want an easy meal while you're busting that your deal. What you gonna pick? Cop pockets.
The cop meal in a pocket.
What you gonna pick? Cop pockets.
Did you wake up this morning with a nasty rash and nothing but regret? Did you go home with a sweaty bass player last night? Did you wake up wanting to chew your own arm off because some skank's laying on it? Are you feeling a burning itching sensation in your crotchal region? Do you feel like you need to scratch your ass with tree bark? Are you walking around like you were banged with a Scud missile? Did you meet someone at the bar you thought would actually call you back? Idiot! Then you need Skankosporin. It'll cool that burning sensation before you do the walk of shame to the cab. That's Skankosporin Itch Paste.
Available at In-N-Out Party Stores, Bottles and Stuff, 8 Mile Liquor, and Cunningham Drugs.
following program is recommended for mature individuals and may contain material unsuitable for morons, cretins, and dishwipes. If you are a moron or a member of the PTL Club, please turn off your radio, because we don't need any more stupid, narrow-minded, pencil-neck geeks who wouldn't know the First Amendment if it came up and bit them on the butt. Thank you.
Ricky rocks, Ricky rocks. It's Ricky rocks, coming out of the box. Bitches come in flocks, trying to steal his jocks. He needs to be contained with padded rocks. It's the Ricky Rock Show, spreading like the pox. Ricky rocks, Ricky rocks. Ricky rocks, Ricky rocks, yeah. Ricky rocks, Ricky rocks. Ricky rocks, Ricky rocks, yeah. Ricky rocks up in your grill, motherfucker.
Yeah. And there's still a lot going on, so I turned that off. And here we are. Made it. Episode number 125 of the Ricky Rock Show. Right here on Rocks100.com and streaming live on YouTube Live. Yeah, here we are. Halfway through December. Christmas is coming. I have not bought one goddamn thing yet.
Damn.
How's your Christmas shopping going?
I finished a while ago.
God damn it. Kevin.
It was pretty late this year, though.
Yeah.
Like, Steph and I, she was like, well, like, with work and, like, all this other shit, like, don't expect, like, a whole lot. I was like, same goes to you. I was like, I mean, obviously, certain years, like, I think I went a little bit more ballsy to the wallsy.
Ballsy to the wallsy.
This was a little bit more reserved, but with me, you know, jumping between jobs and all that shit, it is what it is. But in my defense, I did just recently get her a brand new car, so I kind of think I got a little leeway there.
Yeah. I don't have a job, so I'm afraid to spend money. Like, yeah. I'm going to the store, I'm like, oh, man.
Jack Daniels, food.
No, I don't even have any anymore. I'm like, I can't afford it. I'm like, Christmas, and this is a thing, too. I'm supposed to go to Disney World in March. It's going to be a nice $4,000. So I'm
start borrowing from that 401k.
I can't get access to it because technically I'm unemployed right now.
Oh, shit.
So I'm like, fuck, I
want my money now, damn it.
I got to save up these Biden bucks. Yeah, so that's my life. We're going to get into nuts and bolts and hard truths and get away from the nitty gritty of my not having a job.
By the way, Steve Dave, we're actually talking about you, not Steve Engel, but good job reading the lips.
What were we?
Like when they could actually see us before the show started. Yeah. We were talking about Steve Dave because you were like, oh, he actually made it in today on time. And I said, oh, was it bye week or something?
Every week's a bye week for Steve Dave. Yeah. All right. So nuts and bolts and harsh truths. Here we go. This is an interesting one. I don't know how we're going to answer this, but it's one of those questions that's been sitting in my inbox for a while. And just trying to clear out the old questions kind of thing.
You say that every week.
Yeah, well, this is I've had this for probably about 3 months. And I'm like, I don't know how we can even answer this, but here it is. Gary out of Cincinnati, Ohio. He's like, hey, fellas, going to cut to it. I've been an active musician for over 30 years and have done some decent touring over the years. As you can probably guess, I'm closer to 50 than 40. Is it 50? I thought I wrote 60. It says 60. I don't know which one's right, but closer to 50 than 40, and time isn't going by any slower, and I'm not getting any younger. You seem like younger guys, but as a guy who has spent much of his time invested in being a musician, what is a guy to do who has seen his best years go by? My kids are older, and I'm going to be a grandpa early next year. Obviously, my rock star dreams are over. What's next? Kevin Raslog.
Well, that's a tricky one. I mean, like my uncle, right? He was a drummer for a long time. He played like wedding bands and cover bands and stuff. And when he started having more health issues and wasn't able to play drums, he started picking up like bass guitar, shit like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a tough one because I don't know what I would do in your shoes. Part of me says maybe I would try learning another instrument. But I guess it really depends. Do you want to write music? Do you want to play music? Do you want to just jam? Like, I guess I would have to kind of know what your expectations are, you know?
Well, so when I had this, something came to my head. Wasn't there a time in your life where you blew your foot out or your ankle out or a knee out or something like that, and you weren't like in the shutter day,
my hips were fucked up. Yeah.
So what would Kevin Raslog have done if it's like, yo, dog, your hips are, it's no bueno, you know, you're going to have some arthritis problems.
Well, I was actually looking into hip replacement surgery.
But, you know, with that kind of shit, it's never the same again, you know.
No, I agree. And that was my first thing was, well, I guess I'll do that and see what happens.
So what would have happened if, you know, got hip replacement surgery and it's like every time you sat down to the drums, be like, ugh, God, this nagging thing here, this, my legs ain't hitting those double times as much as they used to anymore. And
it's still doing that.
You know, it's, you know, what would Kevin Raslog have done if, you know, way back then, because I guess that's the only way we can approach it, you know, since we're not closer to 50 or 60 than 40, you know, what would you have done? You know, drummer to the stars, you know, can't play anymore. You know, it's just, you know, something happened in the hip while it just wasn't agreeing.
Man, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like since at that point in time, I really wasn't doing booking as much, so maybe I could have transitioned into that. I probably would have still stayed involved in music in some fashion, but yeah, that's a tough one because like it was the same situation when I had to quit playing hockey. Like that was the one thing I loved doing, and when I had to quit playing, that's when I got into music. So, yeah, I don't know, man. That'd be a tough one.
Well, Steve Engel says, what instrument does Gary play? What I'm assuming Gary's getting into here is he was an active musician. He said he's done some touring and all that. So I don't think it's like a health issue that's making him want to stop. It's the fact that he's older. He's going to be a grandpa and all of this.
Well, who knows? He might be more financially stable to be able to have more time to put into gear, recording, playing. I mean, we don't know the situation. It could be any variety of things. But if the main concern is that you think you're old and past your prime, it really just depends on what you want to do. Like, are you going to try and be like the next I Prevail? It might be a little more difficult, but I mean, it really depends on what he wants to do. I would say, barring like anything super fucking crazy, just give it a fucking good college try.
Well, it's like he said he's done the touring and all that, you know, and the rock star dreams are over. That's what he said. So he's given, from the sounds of this, he's kind of given up on that part of it, you know. So if I was in Gary's shoes and I'm like, yo, I'm, you know, I don't know which one's the correct number, 60 or 50, you know, how old he is. But, you know, if you still want to play and you're like, oh, man, the touring thing is, I can't do it anymore because of family or whatever, there's a bunch of shit you can do.
You could be a content creator on YouTube, dude. Like, I mean, there's tons of people that are talented that just find their own little niche. Like, there was a bunch of, like, drum teachers that do, like, reaction videos to, like, different drummer shit. I mean, you could, what was the one I watched the other day? This guy will have a drummer play like a variety of different beats to different tempos, and then he writes guitar riffs and puts together songs based off of them. Like, there's just endless shit you could fucking do. Like, in the YouTube content creator space, like I said, it depends what he wants to do ultimately at the end of the day.
You know, if it's a thing where, you know, you enjoy writing, he didn't say if he was a writer or anything like that, but, you know, if you want to write, you know, sit in your basement, write songs, and, you know, if your kids play, give them to your kids to play, or record them yourself and put them on YouTube. Right. Or if it's just a matter of playing and you just, you know, you can't tour anymore, go join a cover band.
Right.
You know, you can make some money doing that. That's I know a lot of people that are up in age and will just play dive bar cover shows, you know, get some of their buddies together or do an open jam at a bar, you know, or a spot. If you have those kind of connections, make that happen. You know, if you still want to play, there's ways you can still play. Right. You know, when inevitably that time comes for me where I'm like, well, okay, I'm going to be a grandpa, you know, so it doesn't look good on me to be the struggling musician writing the songs. This next record's gonna make it, I swear. You know, I'm gonna
bye retirement home, hello trailer.
You know, I'm gonna probably go do the cover band thing. You know, that's probably where I'm gonna end up. You know, because I enjoy playing. You know, and I don't really write that much, so it's not something I'm gonna miss. When inevitably I do give up the original band thing, I don't write a lot, anymore. And I'll probably just go do the cover band thing. If I still want to play when I get to that age, I'll go join the cover band thing. I'll go do that and make some money and go hang out at bars. Is your band
going to be like the greatest hits of Rikki ROXX?
That set would be 20 minutes long.
You could do a song from every band you've been in. That should kill like 4 hours, man.
Oh, Jesus. Ain't nobody want to hear that garbage. But, yeah, it kind of depends on what your situation is, Gary. If you can still play and you still want to play.
I mean, shit, you could even like do lessons,
give
there's
lessons.
Tons of options out there.
If you don't want to play anymore, you're just like, I'm gonna hang it up, that's the end of it, do whatever the hell you want to do. Go into some other hobbies, build trains or whatever the fuck old men do. I don't know. If you still want to play, there's plenty of options.
Get some New Balances and a Corvette. Boom, you're off to the races.
Pick up the bitches and just live the lifestyle. So there it is, Gary from Cincinnati, Ohio. Hopefully that helped out a little bit anyway. Ooh, the chat. Steve Dave, Bourbon Club released club picks of bottles. Sold out. I don't know what that means. If he plays guitar or keyboards, I would say keep at it because you never know when things will happen. And that's a thing too. If you done touring and all that, you obviously have connections to people. If any of those bands are actively touring, be like, yo, if you need a guitar player in a pinch,
studio work,
or you need studio work, you need a guy, I know ya, hit me up, stuff like that. That's an option as well. I'd say use being 60 years old as his gimmick. He could be the 60-year-old musician on YouTube.
There you go.
Right, radio jingles. That's one. Sherry Claire, 60 is not the end of the road for musicians. I know plenty of local players around that age. Gary could do the hockey talk show that Kevin isn't doing.
We're not trying to kill the numbers, Steve Dave. As soon as we do that, 10 loses a digit and it looks like 0.
Yeah, he's the second guy who's talked about doing the hockey talk show.
Even on Tiny and Planky, when I did the little 5 fucking minutes of Between the Pipes, it killed all the numbers like instantly. And that was when the Wings were good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we suck now. No one wants to fucking hear that shit. So
so there's that. Coming up on the show, we are going to have our Pump It or Dump Band of the Week. This week I kind of cheated because this band that we're going to get into later on down the line, they've won a JUNO Award, which is the Canadian equivalent of a Grammy, for in 2020, I believe it was, they won Best Metal Album. So I'm like, I don't know.
Are they really metal?
They're like old school.
Because how typically these awards, they'll have like Taylor Swift, best hard rock song of the year.
Jethro Tull beats out Metallica No, they're very old. They're old school. They're younger guys, but they do kind of like that old school, kind of like Iron Maiden-y kind of metal. So we're going to get into that in a little bit. And we do have Beer of the Week talking about Canadian bands.
Hey.
This is a thing. Steve Engyel, our super fan from Mississauga, Ontario, sent a heavily packaged, and when I say heavily packaged, I mean heavily packaged, 2 beers. He sends 2 beers. Rush Canadian Golden Ale we're into from the band Rush. So I've been really weird on getting band sponsored beers because I heard they taste like garbage.
I was trying to order the Deftones shit, but fuck, dude, it was crazy expensive.
Well, it's like I know Iron Maiden has one, like the Trooper, and Metallica has a bourbon or something like that. And I'm like, it's
probably
gimmicky.
Tastes like that snare drum on Saint Anger. Tinny as fuck.
And it's like some bands didn't August Burns Red have a beer?
Yeah, I was trying for ages to fucking get it, and I never could. I mean, fuck, Kid Rock had his own beer.
Well, the Machine Shop has their own beer. I think Battlecross had a beer for a minute.
I think did something with a brewery.
Heartsick had something. Bands
it's a lot more common.
Bands have beers, but I've always tried to stay away from it because I'm like, is this just a gimmick to get rid of your crappy beer? That's kind of how I always assume these are. It's like, okay, this brewery had this really shitty beer and they have to get rid of it. So let's see if we can get a band to agree to slap their name on it so we can get rid of it. So we'll, Motorhead had one too, Shiraz and bourbon. So yeah, Steve Dave, Metallica had Blackened and, It's a thing. So musician beers. I want to get one, but I'm afraid they're going to slap my name on some garbage swill. So I'm like,
it's really just rebranded PBR.
Yeah, pretty much. PBR with like computer printed labels over top of it. So before we get into all the, and then we have Rozzik. Kevin was talking before we went on. He's like, didn't we just talk to Rozzik? And I'm like, yeah, during the lockdown in March of 2020.
We figured it out. He called in one of the nights when we had the lines open. So
yeah,
that's why I was like, because you were like, yeah, you weren't even here when we interviewed him. I'm like, I know for a fucking fact, though, I was here and we talked to him. So
yeah, when we did the interview with him, I think when I looked up, it was March 20th of 2020. So that was right at the beginning of lockdown. And he's from New York. And at the time, New York was, what do they call it? The spot of COVID. Everybody
epicenter.
Epicenter. Everybody had COVID, and he was out in the woods at a cabin somewhere when we talked to him. So
like 28 days later, shit.
Yeah, and so now Rozzik, they're back out there. They've been through Detroit like twice, and I feel bad that I didn't go see him.
I know,
but. He came through once with Nita Strauss, and then he came through again on his own and played the new Dodge. I'm like, fuck, I missed both of them. I feel horrible, But they have a new music video we're gonna be checking out a little bit later as well. So that's gonna be super cool. Gotta throw this out there too. The sponsor, IHatePeople.club, vulgar clothing for the introvert and all of us. Use coupon code ROXX100 for 20% off your entire order. If you're like me into t-shirts that have bad words and questionable
Dad of the year right there.
Questionable moral standings, go to IHatePeople.club. Super cool. Local Detroit. All local, support local.
It's funny you say that
because
like one of the best shirts I have is when Steph and I were at Dirt Fest and I was wearing the Suck My Fuck shirt. She's got it framed and everything, and I'm like, oh god.
See, I love those shirts because at the core of it, I'm a white trash idiot, so I dig like wife beaters that say like I just bitch slapped your mom kind of things, because I'm like, yes, speaks to my heritage kind of thing, so it's super cool. Like, if I had
Dale.
If I had dollars, I'd be all over there and I'd be like, give me one of everything, you know what I'm saying? So super cool. Go check that out. Raz, what's been going on?
Oh, I had a whole week off. It was very, very nice.
And I was telling you, don't get used to it. It gets boring after a while.
So I accepted a new position. So this is the third job that I will have had this year.
Yeah.
My current or previous employer was just like, oh yeah, don't worry about it. So I start my new job tomorrow, which I'm pretty stoked about. But yeah, I had the whole week off, got a bunch of just...
So you didn't even have to do your last 2 weeks or anything like that? Nope. It's like, nah, just...
Well, no, I even I called him and I was like, hey, it was a long conversation that I had with the guy. The owner was super cool, but I was like, yeah, if you want me to work the 2 weeks, I will. If you don't want me to, I'm cool with it. Like, if you don't want to pay me, like, I get it.
Yeah.
He was like, let me consult the team and I'll get back to you. Like 2 hours later, he's like, yeah, don't worry about it. So I was like... Called the new job. I'm like, hey, I can start Monday. But yeah, got to sleep in every day.
You're out of the big three.
Yeah.
You're can you give the people a little tidbit of what you're doing now?
Yeah, so it's a senior level IT position for a company that builds performance transmissions for like race cars and shit.
Tell me you're gonna steal like a transmission and be like, I'm gonna put this in my Subaru. Or my Saab.
No, not gonna do anything like that. I think their applications are way more advanced than a defunct company that went bankrupt like 10 years ago. But we had Georgia Need practice the other day, auditioned a new guitar player.
Mm-hmm.
He accepted it yesterday, so we're really, really fucking excited about that.
So you got a full lineup. Georgia Need and his merry gallivanting gormandizers are ready, featuring Razlog Kevin.
And his band. Yeah. No, but it was really good timing, though, because we're going to finish recording the EP. We got music videos, like a whole bunch of shit that we're trying to do. I mean, both bands are basically in the same spot, except we already have songs written.
You have new material?
Right.
That's not 40 years old?
Well, our new material is really not that new. It's over fucking 2 years old. Because COVID fucked everything up. Like, we had everything written. We were going to record.
Well,
we were going to hit the ground running in 2021.
In Casting Shadows Land, that's a brand new song, baby.
Very true.
So you got these songs. So I'm assuming he's gonna go in, record them, do the videos and all this crap with you. So you're gonna, when you starting up on all that, you know,
the second week of January. Like, we're not wasting any fucking time.
Get it while he's still in the band and he's still hype.
No, it's not even that. Like, it's holding the band back. I mean, casting is in a similar spot where we need to get, you know, fucking pictures for PR, promo, advertisements, the whole fucking 9 yards. You need the new material, you know, even though it is a little bit older. I mean, we're going to record it, so it is what it is. Are you leaving Casting Shadows? No, but I don't know if I'm officially their drummer, so who fucking knows what's going on?
Yeah. We'll see. I don't
know. Yeah, no, it's just not having an actual guitar player, we couldn't do anything.
It's kind of hard to practice with a singer, a bass player, and a drummer.
Yeah, and I mean, like, when you don't have the full unit, it just kind of, it doesn't demoralize you, but it just makes it really hard to focus on it because you can only do so much, and having that missing piece is like so fucking crucial. So,
but you know, George plays guitar as well, so I'm assuming he's got a plethora of material, you know, that he probably hasn't even brought you guys yet. He's like, well, when we find a guitar player, I got material for us.
So this is the thing with George. George isn't really a guitar player. Like, he can play acoustic,
yeah,
but when it comes to like writing music, like, he's not, and there's no offense in this by any means, George just isn't much of a guitar player. So like, if we're like, hey George, write a bunch of shit, it's gonna be kind of in the same vein, same notes, same structure.
Well, it's like you take that, and then when you finally bring it into an electrical environment with other people, be like, okay, that's cool, let's work on it, and then it can take on a whole different life. It's not completely different.
That's very true, but we've kind of tried that, and like 2 or 3 songs were like, just because of how George writes, we noticed a lot of similarities. Yeah. So that's why it was like, well, we just need to get a fucking actual guitar player.
Mm-hmm.
And this kid's really, really fucking good. He knows music theory, like, he does cover band shit, like, he brings everything to the table that we want in a guitar player. So
yeah,
and he's pushing all of us old farts to, you know, play to a click with
old
in-ears.
Farts, you're like what, 35?
Yeah,
34.
Well, no, it's just nice because I've been wanting to do that, especially with both bands, and especially after 2 of our shows.
Can I have one of your beers?
Yeah,
because I'm broke as shit and can't buy things. So thank you, Steve, for the free beer.
We had 2 shows where, you know, the sound on stage was just absolutely brutal.
Yeah,
and dude, it affected our set. Like, we all of us had some issues, and there's a really easy way to mitigate that, and that's by running, you know, in-ears for the whole band. And now we're not going to have an excuse.
Yeah.
But more so is, I don't want us to just be that band that goes up on stage and fucking plays. Like, I want us to be performers. I want it to be a show. I want people, whether it's $5 or $15, to feel like they got their money's worth out of it. And I feel like this is the best way to go, especially with all the shit he's talking about. He's like, oh yeah, the rig you build, you can use it for any of your bands.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, 2 birds, 1 stone. Like, let's fucking do it. So.
Yeah. Look at you.
Making moves, man.
You're making moves. And I'm sitting here like, oh, I ain't got a car today, so it looks like I don't have to take a shower. So yeah, I need to throw this out. You know, I did do something. The last show that I'm involved in for the foreseeable future was on Friday. I did another toy drive over at Diesel, Infused Productions, Mike Montaigne, phenomenal metal guy in the Detroit music scene. Rocks 100 sponsored it, so I was there, and I didn't have to MC or anything like that. I was just kind of hanging out, talking about the radio show and shit like that. And it was really good, cool. You know, Diesel has the 2 sides, and it was you know, you had the metal side and the rock side and all this shit. And, you know, Infused doesn't really do too much with rock music. You know, it's more of a metal thing. But he had a rock stage, and 2 of the bands on the rock stage dropped off last minute. Vase, who we talked to on the show, I guess the singer had some kind of throat infection the day of, so they pulled out. And then Cougaran, they were supposed to play. Gino got COVID, you know, the drummer, which he had at Rock for Tots. So he was sick at Rock for Tots, but he was cool enough to put the mask on and pretty much stay away from everybody, because he's like, from what Nico told me anyway, he's like, he did the test, but he didn't get a result yet. And he had a hunch, but he wasn't sure. You know, he was just kind of tired and, you know, little lethargic or whatever. So he went to the Rockford Tots thing that we did 2 weeks ago. And he's like, yeah, Gino came in and stayed away from everybody, had a mask on, played the set, then dipped. You know, because he's like, if he did have COVID, he didn't want to feel bad if somebody else got it.
Cool,
so,
right.
Which was super cool. And, you know, I saw him for like a split second. He's leaving. He's like, all right, Ricky. I'm like, take it easy, Gino. You know, so Cougaram couldn't do it, but Nico was cool enough to come out and do an acoustic set by himself and played first. And he did really well. He was one of the better acts of the night, you know, to me. You know, he slayed it. You know, we've had Cougaran on the show plenty of times. They did awesome. Fallen Stronger closed the night out, and Soldiers of Scrape played it, legendary Detroit metal band. And we had probably not as much as Rockford Tots, as much, you know, as far as toys and crap like that. You know, there was, I think Montaigne told me there was like 130 people in the door for it. And we had a good corner full of toys and money raised at the door. It was $12 at the door, and 100% of the proceeds were going to, I think it was the U.S. Marine Corps Toys for Tots drive. And this is a thing I learned, that, you know, the Toys for Tots thing and all those people that do toy drives, they actually have a maximum amount they can take. You know, so Montaigne hits me up. He's like, yo, nobody will take these toys. Who am I going to give them to? I'm like, keep looking. There's got to be somebody.
I know someone who hasn't done any Christmas shopping.
I'm going to drop them all off at my house. And he found the U.S. Marine Corps division down here that does the Toys for Tots thing. So we gave it all to them. It was over $2,000 in cash.
Damn.
That we raised, because it was $12 at the door or an unwrapped toy. So there was a good chunk of toys, but a majority it was cash and donations. I sold a couple t-shirts and I gave the proceeds to it. It was like $20, but you know, I sold like
Ricky takes a $5 out of there to grab a beer.
You know, I bumped the prices up a little bit. I'm like, okay, you can have $5 a shirt, you know, so I sold like 3. And so it was cool. There was a couple baskets and all that, and all the bands were super cool, and foregone, you know, taking any money and all that. They're like, just give it to the thing. And so we did over $2,000 on Friday. And, you know, I was like, I don't have to MC, you know, I don't have to do
like
shit.
The last 3 shows that you've either been performing at or been a part of have raised a decent amount of fucking money.
Yeah, good way to close out the year. You know, so now that that's over, I have 0 commitments live, you know, at venues or at shows. So unless there's a show coming up that I want to go to,
if you need a DJ, please contact her.
I don't want to do it. It's like the first time in a long time I have nothing in upcoming shows. You know, no casting shows, no emceeing shows, nothing that I'm sponsoring or anything like that. So it's kind of cool. I ain't got any obligations, so one thing knocked off the list.
Free agent Ricky.
I know. And so it was cool, a good time. So yeah, with that over, like I said, I have no more responsibilities as far as going to shows and sponsoring them or playing them or anything like that. So I'm done. Nothing left to do.
Done.
Nothing left to do. It's a nice feeling that I don't have to be anywhere now.
Yeah, I mean, for years, like in Shudder and even Harlow, usually we would always say second week of December through like at least the end of like February, like not doing shit.
You know, that was I didn't start doing that until I joined New Day Revolution, you know, and they had been around. They're like, look, who wants to load their gear through snow?
Yep.
Nobody goes to those shows anyway. You know, if there's 3 feet of snow and you have a show, you know, there's gonna be nobody there. So let's just not book it. And I was like, oh, that's like 4 months of nothing. He's like, well, we'll still get together and practice and write and do all this other shit. You know, we can catch up on stuff. And I'm like, that's fucking weird. But it, you know,
it works.
When I went through my first, you know, I only had 2 winters with them, I think. And, you know, I was like, man, this is kind of nice that I ain't got shit that I have to do.
Right.
You know, I have nothing really to, I'm like, crap, in 3 weeks I have a fucking show to do and I have to find babies. So it's nice, you know. So with casting, I don't know what Jeff plans on doing, but supposedly we're done until March, April. go to Casting Shadows Facebook page for more
You
information.
talking shit, Ricky?
Yeah, I don't know. I have zero idea what's going on, and I kind of prefer it that way. So that way I don't get stressed out. So
Ricky, ready to get blindsided?
Yeah, I have absolutely no. I know things that.
We're going on tour, right?
Let me know the week before.
It's a buy-on, and everyone's got to throw in. You didn't get that text. I'm just kidding.
Well, you got that new high-paying job. I ain't got a job, Kev. You want to?
Have you heard of fucked up interest rates, Ricky?
Your loan shark, me. 55% interest after 2 days.
How much do you value your kneecaps?
Little Kevin Raslock come up to me with a hockey stick, taking my knees out.
Come up with a fucking cigar, wearing a suit. Hey, Ricky. I think you're a little behind there, buddy.
What'd you get that suit out of the junior section, Kev? What?
Baby Gap, motherfucker.
So super cool. Shout out to that local guitarist. That's a really cool. If it's the same guy, I think it is. I believe it's Aaron Lumsden. Is that him?
Yeah, I've actually been in talks with him about potentially shooting for George, doing some music videos.
Yeah, so there it is from A Silence, phenomenal Detroit band. In-ears is I've never done the in-ear things. I'm really kind of looking forward to it, mostly after like Blu-ray. Well, I don't think Blu-ray we could have used them because they're wireless.
No, we could have, but we couldn't have used a wireless setup. So like unless everybody had like long ass fucking extension cables, I think. Well, and this is all kind of new to me, but like if you've ever recorded professionally, some people don't like, playing to a click track and shit. Personally, I fucking love it. I don't know. It's just another aid to make sure that you're keeping on time and you're not. There's certain parts of songs that as a drummer, like I'm always a little giddy, like I'll almost want to rush just like that little bit of a hair into it. And then on top of it, you actually have ear protection, so you're not blowing the fuck out of your ears with wedges and like all the other sounds. So.
See, that's the thing I'm worried about. If I go over to IEM, that the volume won't be able to go up high enough for my deaf ass.
There's probably a booster pedal for that, Ricky.
A booster pedal?
Yeah, well, it'll be called the ear bleeder. You hit it on full force and turns it up a million fucking percent.
I have a pedal board for my IEMs. So, yeah, that's, I've never used them, but, after you pointed it out, I'm like, man, it would have been a lot better to have those at like Harpo's or something like that.
Any show.
Like big, like mostly those, like I'm used to playing small, dumpy places and being like, okay, well, I'm used to that live sound, used to the wedges and the monitors and all that. So I know how to muster my way through, having that and hearing exactly what I want to hear and having it all preset and.
Well, and the beauty of it is you don't have to be reliant on the sound guy doing a good job as far as what you hear on stage. Yeah. Now, whatever they project to the audience could be, open to interpretation. It could be really good. It could be bad. I mean, there's certain things at a dive bar like you're just going to miss out on. But ultimately, if the band still performs optimally, it should sound good. If their sound isn't capable and you're like really heavy with like backing tracks and shit.
Yeah. So now
that's one thing.
So now I got to look into in-ear like plug things now.
Yeah.
I wonder if they have them with like strobing LEDs. Oh my god. That would be kick-ass.
When I get the laundry list of stuff that we need to buy, obviously, each individual person is going to need their transmitter and their set of in-ears. So, if you need me to help you with that, Ricky, I definitely will. But
find me glowing in-ears. That strobe.
Let's get you an endorsement, Ricky.
Let's do it. So super cool. And hearing protection is that's one thing I've never really cared too much about. And it's starting to get me at my old age. Because Kevin, when he runs to the or during a break or something like that, I'll take my headphones off and leave him here. He's like, bro, I heard your headphones all the way upstairs.
Oh, yeah. They're loud as fuck.
Yeah. And yours is like down at like, what is that? 7 o'clock. Mine's at like 3:30. So it's like all the way around, like at 8. Yours is at like 2. Because I'm deaf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At practice, I'll be like, Ricky. And you're like, huh?
So what do you want to do? We're coming up 20 minutes to 8. I always lose where we go with this. You want to do the Pump It or Dump Band of the Week and then get into Beer of the Week and then then we'll see where we're at.
Yeah.
All right. So last week on the show for our Pump It or Dump Band of the Week, we had Never Elected out of Washington, D.C. and their song Where You Belong. 12 votes. Not horrible.
Seen worse.
But I've seen one. I think there was a couple times I saw 0. I'm like, geez.
Yeah, the people didn't give a fuck.
Even the
Rocks
100 people were like, I'm not even going to vote. You know, so it's like we never get the meh face. We either get a thumbs up or nothing.
Crickets.
You know, it has to really suck. So I think something I might try to do is find the worst possible song I can find and put it as a Pump It or Dump It Band of the Week and see if I get a meh. Now it's kind of a mission. I want to see if I can get one.
So you're going to pick one of your previous bands you were in.
Casting Shadows, this week's Pump It or Dump It Band of the Week. So yeah, Never Elected, Washington, D.C., Where You Belong, 12 votes. So that's cool. I've seen better. I've seen a lot better. I think our highest one was like over 300. This week, like I said earlier in the show, I think we're cheating a little bit since this band has won a JUNO Award for Best Heavy Metal Record. I believe it was 2020. But I had never heard of these guys before, and I did get an email from their PR rep looking for radio play.
Wow,
so I'm like,
we're on that level, huh?
So I'm like, okay.
JUNO Award winner wanting us to promote them?
Yeah, so I'm like, well,
$1 bills, y'all.
Yeah, they got some like 90,000 followers or something like that on Facebook and shit like this, and their music videos have like 10,000 plus views and all that shit. So it's like not fucking huge, but they're a Canadian band. That 10,000 views is like 40 billion. You know, up in Canada.
We're not talking about currency conversion, Ricky.
Well, no, half those, and they're from Edmonton. So it's like Edmonton, I'm sure Wi-Fi isn't, and broadband cable probably isn't in Edmonton yet, I'm assuming.
Dude, this is not a third world country, dude. They have a fucking NHL team. Oh, they don't have Wi-Fi. Come on.
The Oilers.
Steve Engel, I'm so sorry.
It's Edmonton. He's from Toronto. Toronto's civilized. Sorry for smashing all you guys in Edmonton. Every time I see pictures of Edmonton, it looks fucking horrible. It looks so miserable. It's like Detroit. It looks miserable.
You should go to Calgary, dude. They have tunnels underground because of the fucking cold and snow.
And Edmonton's right on the same, longitudinal range as Edmonton. Just different. Same province, I think. So anyway, Striker, Edmonton, Alberta. If you're into traditional heavy metal, I was telling Kevin, these guys sound a lot like...
It's the capital of Alberta. I've been here. It's just cold. Steve.
There it is. There's a reason Wayne Gretzky left for LA. Just going to leave it at that.
Wasn't his choice, but okay.
Well, whatever. What was I saying? If you're into traditional heavy metal, I was telling Kevin, these guys sound a lot like Iron Maiden-ish kind of stuff. Because Kevin was like, is it heavy metal like, what were you saying? Like, you're like, is it the like I Prevail-ish kind of heavy metal, or like real heavy metal or something like that? I'm like, well, it's like Iron Maiden heavy metal. Okay. So they had their latest album that they put out. They're on the single tip right now, but the last album they put out was called Play to Win in 2018 on Record Breaking. Awesome record label name, I have to say. Record Breaking. You can find these guys Facebook.com/Striker Metal or Striker / whatever it is, the horizontal line metal.com. Info on these guys. Please tell me that's Jeff Land castrating me.
I think the dash you're referring to is a hyphen.
The hyphen. Some info on these guys. Last month, with rumors spreading of the band calling it quits after they posted an image that was titled R.I.P. Striker 2007 to 2021 on their social media, fans began speculating on their future. In the end, it was all made to prepare them for Striker's new release, Deathwish. See how they did that? Rest in peace, then Deathwish.
Yeah.
A track that
I can just see the wheels turning in Ricky's head for some sort of PR stunt.
Oh, yeah, I love PR stunts. A track that has their signature sound of putting a modern twist on classic heavy metal mixed with 80s AOR, whatever the heck that is. The single is also the band's introductory track with new drummer Jonathan Webster and bassist Pete Klassen, who joined the lineup in 2019, along with it being their first of many new recordings to come since releasing their JUNO Award-winning album 2018's Play to Win. So, yeah, check these guys out, facebook.com/strikermetal or striker-metal.com. We're going to play their song Deathwish right now, and then we're going to come back with Beer of the Week, courtesy of Steve Engyel, all the way out there in Mississauga, Ontario. Oh, album-oriented radio. That's what AOR means. I don't do radio.
I don't do radio.
All right, so here it is, Striker Deathwish, right here, episode number 125 of the Rikki ROXX Show, Rocks100.com.
Out in the jungle.
All right. We are Jesus. All right, we are back. Episode number 125 of the Ricky Rock Show, Rocks100.com. That was Stryker out of Edmonton. Very, very cold. I imagine it's like negative 50 there right now. Edmonton, Alberta. Deathwish. They said traditional heavy metal, and I listened to a little bit of it, or I don't listen to the whole thing, but, they're like traditional heavy metal for fans of like Iron Maiden and shit like that. I'm like, that didn't sound like Iron Maiden at all to me. That sounded like 80s heavy metal,
Well, we also have to remember, especially like if you get into like subgenres of metal.
Yeah.
If one of those like elitist types heard, if they were in charge of like a radio station, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, traditional heavy metal, and they turned that on, they would go, what the fuck? I think that they probably need to elaborate a little bit more on their sound if that's like how we're traditional heavy metal, because depending on who you ask, that ain't no traditional heavy metal.
I mean, unless at this point bands like what was I thinking? Like Warrant and Slaughter and those, 80s shred bands are considered traditional heavy metal now.
And if that's the case, I mean, it goes to saying, like, remember when, we were little kids listening to the radio and it'd be like classic rock.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be like Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like classic rock and you have like Bush. And you're like, wait, what?
Yeah. Oh, that makes me feel old every time. I can't listen to 94.7 or anything anymore. Like, Detroit's home of classic rock. We're going to play an oldie but a goodie from Green Day Dookie. I'm like,
Oasis.
Oh, God. It's like I was 10 when that came out. Ugh, now I'm old. So yeah, there it is. Head on over to facebook.com/rocks100. Find the Pump It or Dub Band of the Week post and give it a thumbs up if you dug it, or give it the if you did not like it.
I mean, I personally thought it was well done.
I loved it.
It's not really up my alley as far as like shit I would typically listen to.
Yeah.
But it kind of encompassed that 80s hair metal vibe, kind of like pop synth a little bit, but like the production quality and like the song was actually like damn good.
Well, it's like, now that I know it means album oriented radio. Yeah, it's, it's catchy, which is a thing that I've always loved. You can be as brutal as you want, but give me a catchy hook, give me a catchy chorus or something like that I can sing along to.
Right.
And I'm like, Deathwish, okay, I can get down to this. If I had hair, I'd be flailing.
That's severely different concerning Wage War has a song called Deathwish.
Yeah.
And they're both in the metal genre.
Metal.
And we put those two tracks side by side, drastically different.
Yeah, I thought I dug it. They deserve that Juno Award. Congratulations to Canada. I do need to say this. They won Best Heavy Metal Album in Canada. I think I need to dive a little deeper into what's metal in Canada now. If this is...
Hey, I mean, we were going to go to Vancouver.
That's pretty much like Seattle North.
But still, we had to have the paperwork and everything, so it don't matter if it's Seattle North.
Yeah. So yeah, I personally dug it. I think I might even hop over. I never do it, but hop over there with my personal account and give it a like. So yeah, that's what's up. Now we're gonna move over into a beer of the week, and Steve Engyel, knowing my financial difficulties, sent over a heavily packaged, and I'll get into how heavily packaged in 1 minute. This is from Henderson Brewing Company. This is Rush Canadian Golden Ale. They're out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So there it is. Another fine export out of Toronto, I believe, was the band Rush. So super cool. Geddy Lee, Alex Lifeson, and Neil Peart, retired band. This is a 5.5% ABV, 0 IBU Golden Ale. This is from Steve Engyel out of Mississauga, Ontario. He picked this one up and shipped it over international borders, so it probably cost a fortune. Untapped.
You can't dox him, bro.
I'm just saying this.
He didn't pay duty on that. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm just saying, man. I mean, it was packed. Okay, so I'm going to tell you how packed this was. All right, so if you're watching on the video stream, I'm going to illustrate how big this box was.
Yeah, don't tip it over.
Okay, 2 beers. Okay, so you have 2 pints. Okay, like this. Not the diameter of a normal 12-ounce can, but just taller. I get a box about that big. Pretty wide, how what, a foot and a half wide, give or take, foot and a half, whatever, a big fucking box. And he pretty much had the whole, like, whatever newspaper was, like Toronto Sun Gazette or whatever the hell they had. Like, he went to the newspaper stand and got the whole entire paper and stuffed it in this box. And I just see this package from Steve Engyel. I'm like, well, it's
You
not...
open it up, just paper explodes out.
It was just a newspaper that I'm pulling out. I'm like, does he really want me to read the Toronto News this bad? And then at the bottom of it, there's like, I had no idea what it was. And I'm like, well, it's not Canada Day, I don't think.
It's not Boxing Day.
It's not Boxing Day. That's after Thanksgiving, I believe.
It's not Flag Day.
You know, it's not
McDavid Day.
You know, so I'm like, what could Steve Engyel be sending me today? And I'm digging through this newspaper that pretty much took up my whole counter in my kitchen by the time I pulled it all out. And there was 2 pints of this Rush beer, the Canadian Golden Ales. So I was like, well, thank you, Steve Engyel, because I don't have the money to spend on beer, and you just saved me $15.
He did give me the heads up that you were to be expecting a package, so that was super cool of him.
Yeah, you didn't tell me.
Hey,
so
any other fans want to send us beer, by all means.
hit me up privately. I'll actually send you my address, and you can mail me some beer from your neck of the woods. You know, if you're from Texas, Steve Dave, I want to see what else Texas has. I know he sent us a couple beers.
Oh, dude, Steve sent us a whole ton for a minute.
Yeah, we had about a month worth of.
Now he's
Steve
Mr.
Dave.
Bourbon, so and the shit he buys is not relatively cheap, so I'm not expecting him to gift us any bourbon.
Come on, Steve. We'll change beer of the week to bourbon of the week for 1 week.
Oh, jeez. Hey, we'll have to do it with another Hot Ones challenge.
So yeah, Untappd.com gave this a 7 out of 10. Kevin Raslog, what are you thinking?
I'm really struggling to figure out how to like describe this beer, because it's like not anything like earth-shattering different, but there is something.
Let me do a description. I forgot to do this. Maybe this will help you. This rye golden ale pours a gorgeous old gold color with a dense ivory head, notes of orange, caramel, and black tea, accompanied by a piney and citric hop character. Welcome, you got the sip. Much like Canadians, they welcome you with open arms. And then followed by a dry, spicy, bitter finish reminiscent of white rye bread.
Well, since you actually gave me that description, it literally tastes exactly like that. Like, I don't know. It's like, it's subtle, but there's a lot kind of like coming at you, but it's like really well balanced.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not bad by any means. It's definitely kind of interesting though.
Yeah. You know, when I was pouring this during the break, you know, this is something I poured this super heavy and I didn't get like the huge overflowing head and all that. I poured it super heavy and I got, like it said, a thick, dense, but a small head. Story of my life. And, you know, after having tasted it, I do taste that kind of like tea flavor.
I was going to say, when you were reading it, as I was taking a sip, I was like, that's what that is.
Yeah. I'm getting a lot more of, you know.
It's like if Arizona iced tea made a beer. Which is not a bad thing, because I fucking love Arizona.
Yeah, it's, you know, I do get a bit of that orange citrusy kind of thing in there.
It's really smooth though.
Yeah, and I'm getting a lot of that orange kind of citrus thing, and definitely that black tea, because I do drink black tea from here and there when I'm feeling ultra douchey. You know, it definitely has that taste in there, and then it throws, you know, like it said, that piney thing. It does kind of have that kind of earthy.
I was going to say, I get kind of like an herbal kind of thing.
So the description is perfect. You know, I don't eat white rye bread. Maybe that's a Canadian thing. I don't know. I'm poor, so I eat white bread.
Wonder Bread.
Wonder Bread or the Meyer brand.
He wakes up at 4 a.m. to go wait in line for that Wonder Bread.
I eat white bread and bologna because it's cheap.
Do you cut off the crust?
No.
You heathen. No, I'm just kidding.
You know, and so, yeah, the description is perfect on this one. You know, it's very earthy. You're definitely getting a little bit of that black tea kind of herbal thing, and pairing that with the piney taste, it lends to a very earthy taste.
It goes down like, not like a light beer, but it kind of looks like a light beer.
It's kind of
not. It doesn't have like that carbonate. I don't know.
It's
kind of throwing me through a loop though.
It's smooth like you'd normally get out of like a nitrous beer, like a nitrous porter or something like that. Because it's like you said, there's that carbonation. There's none of that carbonation. That's why you weren't getting that huge head pouring over and all that. That's why I say it's smooth like a nitrogen beer. You know, you're not, because nitrogen instead of oxygen,
Right.
so you're not getting that thing. And it kind of has, either that nitro beer or kind of like a coffee porter as far as smoothness, but it's not. I know it's kind of weird to say. It's not thick like that. It's still light. It's very smooth going down, and
yeah, the more I'm drinking it, the more I like it. Like, even like the first sip wasn't bad by any means, but yeah, this is definitely a different take.
Yeah, like I said at the top of the show, I'm usually very hesitant on the band endorsed things.
They just do it right in Canada, apparently.
Obviously, I've heard of Henderson Brewing, and we may have done one.
You
at
can't
some
just pick
point,
a shit beer and throw Rush's name on it. Let's be honest.
Well, but it's not like they're huge. They weren't known for their partying and their beer swilling and all that stuff,
Yeah, but still.
It's like Metallica has whiskey because James Hetfield was a notorious whiskey drinker, and all that. But it's like, I don't remember fucking Geddy Lee playing the keyboards and bass while knocking back a Labatt's,
True, yeah.
So, what do you think in scale 1 to 10 on this one?
I'm like 8.7. I wanted to go 9, but I was like, maybe that's a little too high. 8.7, 8.75. I think, oh, okay. I was going to go 9, but I had to be a little critical.
I'm going 9. This, mostly because of the fact that I was expecting complete swill, because this is a gimmick beer. It has Rush's logo on it. I'm assuming their album art. Little boy with a butt on it, some of I thought it was gonna be complete garbage. I really did. I saw it and I'm like, fuck, it's one of these dumb branded band beers, and I was thinking it was gonna be garbage.
Steve Dave's just like, well, fuck you. As he's packaging up more, I'm just gonna drink them now.
So now what's gonna happen is people are just gonna start sending me 2 beers of all this band shit.
You would be mad about that?
I would not be mad, and now I'm actually kind of intrigued. I'd actually be intrigued. I've never had a rye golden ale before, so I don't know where that falls in, your IPA, your pale ales.
He probably knows the molecular difference.
Steve Engel says he gives it a B+. So that's probably what
close to 8, what I said.
Yeah, around 8.5, 8.6.
See, me and Steve were on the same level.
So yeah, I don't know how available this is in the United States. I've never seen it. I don't know if it's something that's mass produced and put out there. When I looked on Beer Advocate, they didn't even have a score for it.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah,
World exclusive.
It said NA, but once I went to Untappd, they had user scores. So I don't know how widely available it is, but if you can get it, I definitely say pick it up.
The one thing that's kind of crazy is the gold on the can is so eerily reminiscent of like the Miller High Life cans back in the day that my dad used to drink. Because I remember I'd be like 6 years old. He'd be like, "You want to run to the fridge and grab Dad a beer?" And I'd run, I'd grab the beer and I'd shake the shit out of it.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, no, and then
guy.
He would tap on it and open it,
Yeah.
and I'd be hiding behind the couch and it wouldn't explode. I'm like, damn it. Yeah, I was that guy. I'm like, you're gonna make me do your bitch work. All right, Dad.
So yeah, I definitely say pick it up. It's a good beer. I don't know how much it costs. If Steve Engel can enlighten us on the price point for these things, and then you guys can go out on your own and do the conversion from Canadian money to American real money, but I'm gonna guess.
I might have to send Josh Day over the border to do a beer run for us.
I'm gonna guess this probably came in a 4-pack, and
beer's also expensive in Canada too.
And I'm guessing that the American conversion, it would have come out to maybe $12 or $13 for a 4-pack.
I was thinking like 20, 25.
Steve Engel, come on, we need
$3.65 per can.
So yeah,
that's
what is that what he said?
Yeah.
So what's that equate to in American money?
Give me 1 second, I'll tell you.
I haven't been to Canada in years. I don't know what the exchange rate is, what $3.65 Canadian is, because I see Steve on his Facebook.
$2.87.
$2.87 a beer.
Dude, how does that even make sense? Because I remember anytime I was with people that were Canadian, like coming over the border, like I had a couple bands come over, and they were like, dude, beer is so fucking cheap here. Like a case of Labatt's like $40 there, and it'd be like $20 here.
That blows my mind. Yeah, if you can find it for 128 Canadian per US. Okay, so So what'd you say? Two and some change? Yes.
$2.87 for a pint. Fuck me, dude.
$3.
Buy me a whole lifetime supply of this.
$3. Send it. Yeah, definitely worth the money if you can pick this one up. And Kev, talk for a minute. I gotta switch music videos out here.
Oh Lord.
About whatever the hell you want to talk about.
Putting me on the spot.
You knew it was coming. I forgot to.
Well, Jeff Land was also in the chat. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, well,
Ricky had some questions, Jeff, if you want to fill it. I'm just kidding. I'm being a little bit of an asshole. Alcohol taxes in Ontario are crazy. Okay, yeah, that must be it, because I remember I had a couple buddies come over from fucking Windsor, and we went out, grabbed dinner, went to like fucking Rite Aid or whatever to grab beer. And the funny thing is, going to Rite Aid and shit is usually like crazy overpriced.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh yeah, grab like a case of Budweiser. I'm like, you dudes are fucking Canadian. Like, why are you drinking Budweiser? And they're like, dude, your guys' prices are so fucking cheap. Like, this would be like double in Canada.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, how much is Labatt? Because Labatt's is Canadian. And they're like, oh no, it's the same store. This shit ain't fucking cheap. And I'm like, but it's made there. Like, that would be like buying a Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, GM, Ford and paying a premium and then going to like Mexico or Canada and getting it cheaper.
Right.
Just made no sense. The duty free at the border is best. Yeah, I mean, every time I've stopped there, I always, load it up, but it was just something that didn't register to me when, Canadians came over and they're like, dude, like, beer here is so much cheaper. I'm like, ugh, that's rough for you guys, man.
I'm just getting in touch with Core Rozzik right now, sending him the info to get on Zoom and all that for a minute.
So are we playing one track or two?
We can do another track.
Why don't we throw one in right now, and then while you're doing this.
Okay, so what would you want to hear?
Oh, fuck. Let's think.
I mean, I think I have another Core Rozzik song.
Let's do back-to-back Core.
Back-to-back Core. All right, so I'm gonna.
I mean, that will kill like 20 minutes. No, I'm just kidding.
Jesus. All right, so we're gonna play two Core Rozzik songs. The first song is going to be an MP3 I have. We played Vengeance Overdrive at the top of the show, and now we're gonna play Mistress, and then we are gonna come back out of that song and play Vengeance Is Not Enough. So you have Vengeance Overdrive, now Vengeance Is Not Enough. So it's continuing the thing. So we'll do that. So here is a Core Rozzik Mistress, and then we're going to have the brand new video for Vengeance Is Not Enough. Core Rozzik just put this out in the last month or so, I believe. And then we will pull him up on Zoom, talk to him, catch up with him. Last time we talked to him, it was in the
midst of the beginning of the lockdown.
The very beginning of the lockdown. So obviously things have changed for the better. Core Rozzik's come through
he's
Detroit.
made it through here twice, so obviously.
Yeah. So here it is, Core Rozzik Mistress, and then we're going to play the video, then come back with Core Rozzik right here on episode number 125 of the Rikki ROXX Show, Rocks100.com.
Enticing, conspiracy, surprising. I've lost control when I'm under your sheets. I've been confined, your love is the terrible kind. Tastes like cheap red wine. But I love to keep your secrets. If I could time. There's gotta be a way to get out
Rozzik. Core Rozzik.
Hey, do you know who you're dealing with? What's inside my head? This is your apocalypse. I see a demise as I widen my eyes. Sweet revenge. Now I'm loving it. Off with your head, yeah. Been waiting such a long time. I think the punishment is the crime. I'm right outside your front door. Revenge, give me all your money. Vengeance is not enough. Nice try, Mr. Nice Guy.
Hell yeah.
All right, so that was, let me adjust the cameras. I got this all framed, all fucked up.
Basically 20 minutes of core.
Pretty much. All right, so we had Mistress on the normal track, a track I've had in there for a little bit, and then the brand new Vengeance Is Not Enough, the brand new music video from Rozzik. So what we're going to do is I'm going to try to get him on here, and we will talk to Mr. Rozzik himself. All right, there's that. There you are. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I don't think he can.
I don't think he can. Are you muted? Let me see. Speakers. Let's try this. Can you hear me now? God, I love this. Can you hear me now? Can't hear anything. Can you hear me now? Can't hear me now. Can you hear me now? It's on. I don't understand. He looks fabulous. Can you? Are you muted? Are you muted?
I mean, there's only so many options that you have to pick.
Are you muted? Same as system, microphone. Okay. Speaker. It shouldn't be the speakers. Can you hear? You can't hear. No, he can't hear shit. He hung up.
Maybe he's got a call in?
Well, it's like our mic's going out. I see it. Everything's going out. Can you hear me? Okay, he can hear me. Okay, so let's try this. Can you hear me? I love technology. We will get Rozzik on here. You can see his pretty face. Hear me.
Now we can't hear him.
Okay, now it's just a speaker thing. Now. God. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay, so he can hear me. We just can't hear him. Can you hear me now? Oh my God, he hung up again.
Technology. No, wait, okay, your microphone is unmuted, so can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. We can hear you now. What's going on, brother?
You can see me, right?
I can see you, and we can hear you. We worked it out.
We need to make like a 1-point lesson of step-by-steps to click through.
I know. So how you doing, dude? It's been a long time since we talked to you. Kevin swears you called in at some point, but it's like I was looking back through the archives, and it's been since the March of last year since we had you on the show in the midst of COVID lockdown. You were in the middle of the damn woods. What's been going on, homie?
I've been everywhere and anywhere. Ironically, I'm in New York City today. And that's only because I needed to pick up my mail. And we're actually in the studio tomorrow doing drums and other tracks for some new music. So, but yeah, I've been in the woods quite a bit. I've actually been building up the Pennsylvania market this year, which is a market we never used to do. So we did like Allentown, Harrisburg, Stroudsburg. We've just been doing a lot of smart weekends, but luckily all the shows have been great, man. We've been really fortunate to have some good shows this year, even though we didn't get to do a full-blown tour. We've been doing the Weekend Warrior thing. So
where in Allentown did you play?
This place called the Gin Mill.
I knew you were gonna say that. My wife's family, even though they're from Staten Island, actually lived just outside of there, and when we would go and visit, that's where we would go.
Really? Yeah, it's kind of a rando spot, but we played with Cold.
No shit.
Yeah, I think it's this year's a blur, man. It was a couple of weeks back. I think it was like early November or something like that. We played with Cold there. Yeah.
How was the show?
It was fun, man. Like that's the thing. Like every show we've done has been well attended, great response, people buying merch. Everything's been great.
I think we could kind of share that sentiment with like the shows we've done, you know, coming out of the lockdown and everything. I was really honestly surprised with some of the turnouts, so I'm glad we're not the only ones.
So since we talked to you on the show, I was looking, it was March of 2020, everything was locked down. You were getting out of the city because New York was, you know, the epicenter of COVID when it first came out. You know, you weren't walking around or anything like that. What's been going on the last what is it now? Almost a year and 3/4, almost 2 years.
So what happened was, I mean, I think this whole thing was a blessing and a curse. We kind of regrouped. And during the initial shutdown, my guitar player came up to the mountains with me, and we basically did like 2 quarantine sessions, if you will. And we basically wrote more or less what would be the next record. And I think it's kind of weird. I think if like the pandemic hadn't happened the way our cycle had been, I don't know when the hell we would have like actually focused and like written that record. We needed to write a new record. But I was just always so about hitting the road, you know? So it finally gave us time to sit down and really hash out some stuff. And I think the pandemic kind of affected a lot of the writing. You know, the first record, Vengeance Overdrive, is a concept record, and it was very kind of based around the Core Rozzik bastard child, the New York City character, being the black sheep of the local scene and wanting to be famous and all this kind of supernatural cult stuff, you know. And the newer stuff is still very theatrical, but it's based around a different type of core universe. I don't want to say it's going to be a political record, because we don't try to sway anybody either which direction, but I think it's going to be kind of like a social-ish, political-ish record, just about how we're so divided and we're so obsessed with the TV and you know, just censorship and all that kind of stuff. So without being political or swaying on any sides, we're going to just kind of talk about, I guess, some stuff that's a little more relatable. It's not just all about the Core Rozzik character anymore. It's kind of about what we're experiencing and kind of how Core sees it, and Core wants to try to make changes and stuff. And again, it's in this like alternate universe, but ironically, it's not too much alternate compared to what we've been experiencing during all this.
So you brought up Vengeance Overdrive, and now Vengeance is Not Enough. Are you trying to are you tying this?
He's
back?
A vengeful motherfucker.
You know, are you tying this to that first record? Is there any ties to it? You know, people that have that record, you know, is there like a continuation? Because you said it was a concept record. Is this kind of like, you know, part 2 of it, or, you know, a continuation of that?
I think Vengeance Is Not Enough is the bridge.
Okay.
Because I just thought it was kind of funny. You know, I thought Vengeance Overdrive, and I said jokingly, oh, Vengeance Is Not Enough. It just sounds like that like action movie sequel, like a James Bond sequel, you know, Never Say Never or something like that. Right. Evil Never Dies, or, you know, something like that. It kind of took on that attitude. It's kind of like, especially with the video, you know, it's very like James Bond, Breaking Bad, Reservoir Dogs meets like WWE.
Yeah, I saw your wrestling moves. You had those pretty down pat, bro.
Yeah, well, I had wrestled. I had done some backyard wrestling, and I had done some in-ring wrestling back in the day. And, you know, I've always been a wrestling fan, and I've had the privilege of making some friends in the business. And my ex-guitar player, Carlo, who's actually in the video, now known as Carlo Weiss, I actually helped him get into the industry. So he's working the indies now with this whole rock star gimmick, and he always comes out to some sort of a core song. He's coming out to Vengeance Is Not Enough now. That's his new theme song now. So, and we always get him involved still and stuff. So I thought, since this was going to be, instead of doing like a horror thing, kind of like the Mistress video, we wanted to do like an action-packed thing. I thought it would be really cool to do a wrestling scene, you know?
That's fucking so cool. I kind of wanted to piggyback a little bit on what Ricky was talking about. It seems like when bands can pull that kind of stuff off, like with the theatrical, and not just like from like a visual standpoint, but even from like a music standpoint, you can look at like Devil Wears Prada had the Zombies EP, and then their follow-up, Ronnie Radke from Falling in Reverse, like their last 3 songs, they kind of build out this like trilogy or this like story, and it's like this big huge thing. And watching your video, I mean, you definitely get that vibe, even if the fight scenes aren't, you know, full like Matrix kind of shit, but it paints that picture on like a deeper level. And to combine that with you saying, you know, you're not going to be like political per se, I look at it as being more relatable. Like the world's really fucked up, and it doesn't really matter which side you're choosing. It's more so addressing the things that are basically in front of us each and every day. Was the writing process for that like easy? Was it difficult? Was it uncomfortable? Because like when you're writing something and then like life affects you and then all of a sudden you're writing and things are flowing, is there any part of you that's like, hey, is this going to be relatable? Is this going to be marketable? Or were you guys just like, fuck it, this is what we're feeling, we're going to run with it?
I think it was kind of a mix of it. I think we have a small cult following, and obviously want to expand that fan base. And I kind of felt like, the first record is a cool trip. It's a cool story. But I think, to be successful, I think you do need to be relatable. And the thing is, when you're doing, gimmicks, if you will, or being theatrical, a lot of times you're kind of in this weird kind of like movie scenario, or like a lot of, theatrical bands do with all the horror movie stuff, like Ice Nine Kills are very horror movie based. It's cool, but after a while it's like, okay, but is there any real feelings? And again, I mean, music is supposed to be an escape, and you can use it purely as an escape. But I think at the same time, if you can dig a little deeper, sometimes that goes farther. So I kind of said, okay, well, everyone can relate about being stuck at home. I think everybody can relate to censorship now. I think everybody can relate to being wronged. Obviously, there's a lot of that in the first record, but we just kind of wanted to shape it in a different way. And I think with Vengeance Is Not Enough specifically, that song could be seen so many different ways. Sometimes it plays out differently in my head than what it is in the video. But basically, in the next record, Core wants to be kind of like this street punk kid leader guy who wants to like overthrow the government because they banned rock and roll and there's all this censorship. So, when you look at that video and I'm going to take the briefcase and take the money back, it's like that could be a variety of things. That head boss bad guy, he could have been anybody. Right. He could be the government, he could be the record label, he could be anything, so it's kind of open to the the viewer's imagination. But yeah, we're trying to find a way to keep the theatrics, but still be relatable. And I thought, looking at certain bands like Rammstein and Foo Fighters who do these, like, sometimes they do these fun videos where they're not just a band playing in a room somewhere, they're like being characters.
Right. That's like Foo Fighters' MO.
Yeah. Yeah. So I kind of said, well, Core Rozzik's this crazy character and I have different sides to what I do. I'm like, I think it's time to start kind of showing that. We did the horror movie stuff with some of the earlier videos. It's like, well, let's do an action movie now. Maybe the next one will be a comedy or something that's still badass but satiring something. Maybe we'll satire, politics, or satire religion, or just do something that's not just the band playing in a room somewhere. If we can try to do it, because again, it's all about being relatable. And let's be honest, it's also about going viral. It's probably more likely a video of me, body slamming someone is more likely to go viral than me just, playing in a studio somewhere. So, not to be blatant clickbaity, but, something that people go, hey, man, did you see that video? The guy's freaking super kicking somebody. Like, what the hell? He's right. Some guy's heart out, So we're just thinking of like fun things that are memorable that'll make people want to talk about and want to watch it again. Some bands are just a straight ahead band. There's nothing wrong with that, but we wanted to create something that people would want to watch over and over again and really get the rocks off to it.
Get the rocks off. You see that?
There it is.
With that being said, sorry, I knew Ricky had something, but
you're good.
With that being said, how do you carry that over into your live performance? Because obviously, us being musicians, and we had talked about ad nauseum numerous times, like performing and having that flow of a show. And I know just as well as we do, when you look at the Ice Nine Kills and like bands of that, their shows aren't just them like, all right, are you guys ready? And they click in. Like, they actually make it a performance. When you're doing these kinds of songs and you're kind of switching things up a little bit, how are you, I guess, altering your stage performance to kind of like get the most out of it?
Well, yeah, I mean, I did a lot of props, for all the Vengeance Overdrive, tours, whether it was, with the Spellbound, with the voodoo and the voodoo dolls and the holy water sprinklers, or coming out with a chainsaw or whatever. And, some of that stuff I've retired as of now because, maybe some of it I saw as kind of hokey, or like, we already did all that. So, yeah, definitely trying to find different ways to do theatrics. But what worked out really well is we just did our final show of the year last week in a place called Zen West in Baltimore, Maryland, and it was really cool. We, for the first time ever, it was a full headlining set. We played Vengeance Overdrive from start to finish in its entirety with all the skits and everything, which we've never done before. And it really played back live really cool. And then what we did is we took a short break and we played the video, Vengeance Is Not Enough, for the first time before anyone else could see it publicly. And then we broke out. The band comes on stage, bunch of feedback, ramping up. And then we kick into Vengeance Is Not Enough live, and then I come out with the briefcase, and the crowd just pops because they get it now. It's like, oh, I see the video, I got the briefcase, and I'm up there in the suit jacket with the briefcase, and the whole climax is at the end. I start throwing money into the crowd, and at the very end, somebody actually handed me some real money. So that was
that's awesome.
You know, go ahead. You know, a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, you know, moving forward, since you said the Vengeance Overdrive album, you know, is a concept record, you know, inherently with concept records, you know, if you single one song out, you know, you don't get the rest of the story. You got to listen to all of them in kind of succession to kind of get the full gist of what's going on, you know. So track 4, you're missing all the message from, you know, track 1 through 3, you know, going forward and having, you know, that concept record, Vengeance Overdrive, and now having this new record, you know, how are you going to approach that in a live setting? Because you were saying that Maryland show, you know, you played Vengeance Overdrive front to, you know, top to bottom, and then took a break, and then came out and played Vengeance Is Not Enough, and did that costume change and all that. How are you going to work, you know, the new stuff into the older stuff?
It's a good question. I think what's good about the new stuff is that, and I think this is the funny thing about concept records, you know, I think everybody does them differently. I have a story in my head to a point, and there are some concept records that, like, yeah, it's so detailed to the point where you can't not do it in succession. But with this new record, because it is more relatable, it is a concept record, but I think the story is a little bit more open-ended, so that you don't necessarily it gets its point across without necessarily have to be in chronological order. And I think at this point we're going to go the new school way of just doing a couple of singles before we put out a full record. We haven't put out music in a long time, and I think we're also realistic at where we're at in our career right now, and I think it actually makes more sense for us to rebuild the brand by slowly releasing singles. I feel like that's going to keep the momentum better and keep us more relevant. So with that said, like, yeah, we can put the story together, so to speak, but I think the songs can still kind of stand alone on their own without being in a specific order. And I think that's kind of more of like what we're doing with this story, so to speak. They're related, but it's not like they have to be connected right away. So yeah, I kind of got away from that because I personally like doing concept records. My band is indifferent to it. And again, we're trying to be more relatable. So in my mind, it still connects, but it doesn't have to be connected. So we kind of get away with it on this time around.
That was a really good question that Ricky brought up, but it made me start thinking while you were answering it. Your guys' concept isn't like so out of the box different from your normal sound. And, you know, like I had said, Devil Wears Prada, for instance, like the Zombie EP, phenomenal fucking record. And they toured on that and then every album after, and they would always sprinkle those songs in. And because of their genre and the sound and everything, it didn't necessarily not fit. So personally, I don't think you guys would run into that. It's just one of those things where if you have like the props and like certain things like that, I feel like would carry that song like for years. You know what I mean? Like, not saying bust out the suit and the briefcase, but like, okay, just have the briefcase on stage kind of thing. Like something little like that.
And that leads into another thing I wanted to ask. You know, you look at Rozzik's Facebook page, you know, you look like a voodoo master in a lot of them. You know, you have the hat, you have the big thing, and now you're taking this turn, you know, like you said, the suit and the briefcase and this more relatable stuff. You know, you as the front man, the namesake, you know, you're the center of this whole entire core universe. You know, how are you going to alter the stage or alter your look for the new album and then, play Vengeance Overdrive in a suit and tie? Or are you going to do costume changes? Are you going to share this thing up? Or are you going to Lady Gaga this thing?
Yeah, probably.
As a guy who likes dressing up to portray whatever, and you're along the same way, like you said, that first record was very like horror story, voodoo and all this. Now you're Core's going street, and as a performer, how are you going to convey that on stage? I'm guessing 2022 is when, the vast swath of America is going to get the full thing again. How are you going to portray this on stage as the front man and the namesake of the band?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be any different than what we do now. I mean, we always, even with the first record, whether we did the record, which really until last week, we never did the record in its entirety. But what we always do is we do a song, lights go out, there's some sort of an intro skit of some kind. And I mean, I was doing costume changes back then. I was always changing props, changing jackets, whatever. So it's not going to be that much different. But I think the main, and I'm still working on it, I would probably want to speak to a stylist so I can get the look just right. But basically my two looks for next year is going to be the street punk, leather kid leader guy. And then this kind of businessman, politician, suit jacket guy. So I'm going to kind of
Clark Kent.
Yeah, exactly. No, the storyline is that Core is this street punk kid trying to, kind of cause a ruckus in the streets, and his alter ego is John Corey, who's basically running for office of some kind. So that's kind of like what the story is. So I guess I'm sort of John Corey, but not really in this video, because I got my hair down and everything, but I'm still in the suit.
Yeah.
Again, it's all very suggestive, and a lot of it's in my head. Sometimes you can only explain so much to the audience. But yeah, from a live standpoint, it's not going to be any different. There's always going to be those little segue skits, and then I'm going to come back up with something else in my hand, or a different jacket or whatever, with a different attitude. So not much from a stage standpoint is really going to change. But that would be kind of the two characters that I'm focusing on, and I think the whole voodoo thing is going to be kind of timeless. It's a great way to close the show. People always love it when I come out with the hat and the voodoo doll and throw the water on everybody. And really during this resurrection of the band, people have loved us still doing Spellbound, because I always set the crowd up for that moment. And I keep saying, "Oh, are you guys ready for the cure of COVID?" And then I would literally come out there and just start throwing water on people. And then I'd be like, "We just made history. We just solved COVID-19." So the whole theme of like our shows now has just been like, "Yo, fuck COVID, bring back live music, let's live." It's a celebration, without being too political, But even though I'm like, yeah, fuck Dr. Fauci and all that shit. But I haven't been canceled yet. I have not been canceled yet. Like I said, I try not to get too political. But I've really thanked the fans, because I do speak my mind to a point, and I've thanked the fans this year. No one's canceled us yet. So whatever we're doing, I guess, is resonating. People are appreciating that, because people want to come out and have a good time. But you can't help but not mention what's going on to a point. I think if you stop the whole show and start,
Uncle Ted preaching it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think if you stop the show and you start ranting and raving about whoever the president is at the time and vaccinations and all that stuff, then you're really turning it into a soapbox.
Don't five-finger death punch the show. You never go five-finger death punch.
Don't Ted Nugent.
Yeah.
The thing.
No.
What's super cool though is that, like, even though like you're typically playing shows where you're not going to be allotted time to do changeover for costumes and like all that shit. Dude, in like 10 fucking years, the crux of what I'm trying to get at is like you're looking at that now as a smaller act and still trying to do it. Whereas like in 10 years, you could have the Lady Gaga shit where you're playing 3 fucking hours and you get to go change. And like, since you've already built the story, the identity, the theme, like, if you blow up and get huge, like, it's going to be no brainer for you to be able to do what you want to do. And I think that's super cool, because like there are a lot of bands that could put out good music, but not have that stage show where you're giving people like the full stage show. And but the music comes first. And I think that's the coolest part about it is like you can't just manufacture a storyline or some shit like that out of a song you wrote. But like what you do is like you kind of have that in the forefront of like I'm this character, this is what's going on, and that leads to it, and then the music kind of follows. So like if you do get to that point, it's going to be a no fucking brainer. You'll be able to perform and put on a theatrical show.
Fucking Motley Crue, baby.
And
Motley
I mean,
Crue.
let's be honest. Like people wonder why they'll go and spend, you know, $300 to go see Eminem or whoever at fucking Ford Field, but they won't go to Simon's in Allen Park and spend $5. Well, they're obviously not being entertained, and it's just really rare to find a band that puts a lot of stock into the theatrical entertainment part rather than we're just going to write a banger and people are going to love us because we slay. And it's like, you got to slay real fucking hard in 2021, 22 to really grab people's attention. Like, let's be fucking honest.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're very realistic about where we're at. We call ourselves a baby national. And, you know, I've even joked that, you know, Rozzik is a modern day Alice Cooper on a budget, you know, but we aspire and we're usually successful. We're always the pleasant surprise when people come to shows. Either it's a headlining show and they're just coming with a friend, or if we're opening up for a national act, you know, people come to see that band. Obviously, we're always impressing. And that is always my mission statement, is to create the biggest, most entertaining show, still like on the smallest budget, on the smallest stage possible. I always aim to you know, put on something that's fun and unique. And I think also too is you can't rest on your laurels. You know, you can't just be like all gimmick and no music.
Right.
But I've also kind of
tried.
accepted where I'm at on the hard rock metal spectrum. You know, you know, if we try too hard to, you know, write the craziest breakdowns or, you know, something like super extreme, you know, we would just be posers in that sense. So I try to find this happy medium of, you know, grooving, a little bit of riffage, a little bit of a breakdown, but a very catchy chorus and something visual that you can see. And I try as a frontman to just be as animated and as in your face as possible. I really take pride in what I'm doing. I do feel I am one of the strongest, you know, frontman out there right now, very much under the radar. But I think anybody that comes to see the show is always very, very, very happy and very satisfied. But we're still very much on a DIY grassroots mom and pop type of establishment right now.
I think you're like epitomizing the fake it till you make it, not in a bad way, but like doing it on a budget, making it look pro, having fun, doing your fucking thing. And like that's what every band should strive to do. Like, yeah, you don't go full Slipknot if you're not fucking Slipknot. And you're not going to be Slipknot, but
you can't be blowing pyro off in a 100-seat capacity sports bar, you know.
But it seems like you fully understand, and this is really hard just for most musicians, and then frontman on top of it, like creating that identity, that branding, and you've got that down. And I think that's where a lot of bands struggle. And for you, it's like you've got that. Obviously, the results are coming, and that's like super awesome to hear, man. Super stoked for you.
You know, and you know, you're talking about all this, and you know, me, the biggest Motley Crue fan in the world. You know, Nikki Sixx said it best. We want to bring a stadium show into a club. You know, if people are paying $5-10 to come see us, we want to give them a $300 show. We want to give them the best show we can absolutely give them, and that's why Motley Crue blew up. You know, they were lighting Nikki Sixx on fire. You know, at clubs in front,
drinking heroin from a fire hose.
You know, lighting their ass on fire in front of 20 people, and those 20 people were like, "Yo, this bass player just lit his ass on fire for 20 fucking people. You gotta come check this shit out."
Red Hot Chili Peppers, they were all wearing tube socks on their dongs.
You know, it's that kind of thing that, you know, which I wish I could do, you know, to, you know, have that kind of stage show to where people are like, dude, this band literally, you know, like in your case, just sprayed holy water on all of us, and he came out as a voodoo guy. You know, this is the most bizarre thing I've ever seen at a $5 show in shit Tucky Hamtramck. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's
the ham sandwich. Yeah, I know all about it. Yeah, it was messed up when I played there that night. All I did was insult the town for 30 minutes. I kept calling it ham salad, ham sandwich, ham track drink. I couldn't. It was a thing, but yeah, I mean, you know, we've had the luxury of doing some bigger shows and bigger stages, but even like a few days ago when we played Zen West, we pretty much just played for our fans and the local band's fans on a smaller stage. And I thought, you know, and maybe because we were headlining, maybe that's partly why I'm being biased, but we thought it was our favorite show of the year. Just the energy was there, you know? So we don't really care how big the stage is as long as, you know, the people are feeling it. That's really what's most important.
You know, and something you've thrown out, you know, that you guys are kind of like the black sheep in the New York rock thing. You know, have you seen the, you know, kind of, I guess, the homegrown crowd growing as, you know, as you guys are, you know, not getting older, but progressing. Have you seen yourself get a little bit more recognition in your hometown, you know, with all this new stuff you're doing, pro videos, new music, you know, the theatrics?
You know, to be completely honest, I think me, speaking of the third person, but I think me and the New York City scene kind of have an understanding. I don't think about them too much, and I don't think they're really thinking about me too much. I think there was definitely a period of time where I wouldn't even be out in the scene, and people were still talking about me with all the rumors, pretty much everything that was documented in the first record. But I'm really out of sight, out of mind at this point, to be honest with you. We did our return show to New York City, our first show back. We did that. It was great for what it was. But I mean, we do still have some fans here, but we're pretty much off the radar in New York. I think most of our fanfare is elsewhere. We've really built up the PA markets during this time. You know, we still have a lot of fans in Ohio and the Midwest and Maryland. I'm really out of sight, out of mind with the New York scene. And I think in one way it's kind of good, because when you come out of a scene that's you know, a big city like New York City, you have a lot of people that really aspire to be part of that culture. And there is a culture, you know. It's like, if you're like a very dedicated, you know, local scene musician, you know all the local bands, you hang out at Duff's, you hang out at Lucky's, you know, all these places, there is a culture there. And when I first got in the scene over 10 years ago, it was magical for a while. It was kind of like high school part 2 in a way. There was something really special about it. I really wanted to be a part of it, and I really wanted to be validated and accepted with my peers. And that didn't really happen. And I think as we kind of started getting bigger, I think some people started to respect us, but I think a lot of the people continued to hate us and kind of tune us out. So, you know, it is what it is. I mean, New York will always be my home, but in many ways I've, not just professionally, but personally, I have emotionally moved on. And I think it was the best thing we did. The best thing the New York City scene ever did was not accept me and slander me and just kind of cast me out, because what it did was it pushed me to actually get out of New York and start touring and kind of see that there's a whole nother world outside of New York City. Nothing wrong with being a local musician. There's something very cool about the New York City scene in some ways. But some people just get caught up in that and they don't realize there's a whole nother world out there. So, you know, it's cool.
You know,
I share that sentiment 100%.
You know, I brought that up for a reason, because I see a lot of people, Detroit, and I'm sure it's the same in New York, who are like, oh man, we're doing relatively well here. We could just continue playing here and we're fine and dandy. And they never have that kind of, like you were saying, push to just be like, okay, well, this place, my hometown doesn't accept me. If I'm going to be accepted, I have to leave. Right. You know, have that necessity, be like, yo, I got to get out of here. I have no options here. You know, this city fucking hates me, you know, and, you know, that's, you know, I wish more, you know, I hate to say it this way, but I wish more bands would get more
hometown recognition.
Well, no, more hate to get pushed out and kind of forced to be like, yo, we love what we do, but dude, my hometown ain't fucking cutting it. You know, nobody fucking digs us. We got to go somewhere else, and hopefully somewhere else digs what we're doing.
See, that was literally my drive, like with every band that I had been in. Once I got into a booking situation, was that the hometown thing like is good, but it's a honeymoon period. And it's not that they're not fans, but majority of the time what you end up have happening is when you're a local band on that level, a majority of your crowd is family and friends, and they can carry you so far. But like We Came as Romans, I Prevail, like you can list any number of bands from your area. They didn't make it big by slaying their local scene. They got the fuck up and went out. Like, Ricky, you and I can probably name 10 fucking bands from Michigan that are huge, and they made it because they left.
Yeah.
And they are now revered in Michigan, but when they were playing in Michigan all the time, they weren't like the fucking cool kids on the block. It was like, I got nothing going on. I guess I'll catch a We Came as Romans at, whatever shithole they're playing in.
Yeah.
And for you, I feel like that's kind of the embodiment of what you have to do. Like, slaying your local scene is cool and all, but until you've, like, played 3/4 of the fucking country, it really doesn't mean a whole lot. And what I've found is when you can go and play a shithole in fucking Indiana or Kentucky, and you can gain more fans and more money and more notice, than spending the same amount of effort, maybe a little bit less more dollars in your local area, like, why the fuck not, dude? If you have people that are like, dude, we want to have you come to Cali, we want to have you come to Florida, and like your local fans see that, they're going to be like, wow, like these guys are fucking doing something. But the thing you run into is that's when all the people that you thought were your friends, your family, your supporters locally, oh, well, they think they're a big deal, they're this, and that. But I feel like that's just part of the growing process. And it sounds like you guys, you specifically,
have embraced it.
Well, yeah, and that's how I was too. I like Ricky. Remember when we did that weekend?
Yeah.
I was like, dude, fuck. I'd rather go spend more money to go travel, play for new fucking people, sell merch, have fun, meet fans. Not a dude I went to fucking high school with. It's like, oh, dude, let me get in for free next time. It's like, really? Come on, dude.
Exactly. I mean, and that's the thing too. Like when we, especially during like these times, kind of rebuilding the brand, I started working all these PA markets, and we were, how many New York bands can get asked to like open up for Hinder or Steel Panther or Cold or even go to Detroit? We did Token Lounge with Liliac. A lot of local bands would never get that opportunity. It's because we have worked those markets before. The name is out there. And what I always tell promoters is say, hey, listen, I may not draw 100 people, but for whatever it's worth, whoever does come through that door, which will still be good enough for both of us, it's legit fans for whatever that's worth. If you give a shit, I even tell promoters, I'm letting you know right now, this is not gonna be no friends and family. This is gonna be legit paying fans. And that's what we have there, and I think a lot of local bands, I don't know, they either get comfortable or maybe they just want to be big dogs in a little pond or whatever, we're not like that. We'd rather have 50 fans in every market across the country than just be a big deal in Queens or something, so we just kind of focused on that at an early time. We just felt like it was time to do that. And again, it depends what your goals are. I mean, I want to build my reputation, my legacy. I like being on the road. I like touring. I like seeing fans in different places and eating at different Denny's and shit, so
Waffle House too, right?
Waffle House, Cracker Barrel, well, the whole deal.
Yeah. That's tour life, brother.
That's right. I live for that. That's what I like to do. So, and especially for me, because when I'm home, I'm kind of a homebody. I'm kind of, I keep to myself quite a bit. My social time is playing shows. My social time is traveling, going on the road. So it's a personality thing. It's a goal thing. It's not easy. A lot of bands will sometimes try to step out, and it can be discouraging. I have friends from Pittsburgh who just went on their first ever big tour, and it was like the tour from hell. It was probably anything that could happen happened. Bus broke down, someone died, crashed into their vehicle. And everything that could happen, happened. And they were telling me they got back to their home scene, and like all of a sudden, like everybody was like not being nice and kind of like, treating them weird just because they had gone on one big national tour. They finally had their first big break, and everyone's just like treating them like crap, So hopefully they're gonna, embrace that and kind of grow from that. So it is kind of funny how scenes can sometimes look at bands when you finally venture out. It's like they look down on you like you sold out or something.
Oh, Ricky and I know that all too well. I mean, Harlow's first shows were out of state, and Ricky and I have talked about this a few times on the show, that there was a time where every Friday and Saturday there would be like 30 members of different bands, like collectively at these shows. And it would be our scene, you know, Ricky from one band, me from another band, Jose, you know, blah, 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 blah. All these people. And then like we started doing Weekend Warriors. And then like all of a sudden when we would play at home, yeah, that 30 people that were our boys would turn into 20, which would turn into 10, which would turn into 5. And while it is discouraging, the flip side of it is, oh, we just played in Philly or North Carolina and got paid and played for like 300 people. And it's like, as much as I love my friends and my family, I'm like, they're not the ones buying merch. They're not the ones fucking tweeting us and, oh my God, did you see them last night? I got a fucking picture of the drummer. Like, the fans of music are like where you make your money. And the only way you find that is by going out, because let's be completely honest, where you're at in New York, where we're at in Detroit, dude, those fans aren't going to sell 1 million albums. They're really not. And it's not to discredit them or we're not appreciative of them, but we're talking business. And it's a numbers game, to be completely honest. Like, what you're doing is exactly what I would do. Hit the strategic markets, you know, return. The fact that you're getting on national shows out of state is a huge, huge compliment to everything you've built. You know, Ricky and myself, you know, we've been fortunate in a few of the projects we've been in to where, yeah, we're going out of state and it's like, oh, well, we're actually like direct support or we're on like this. And it's for a reason, because it just doesn't happen to every band. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of grind. And yeah, I mean, that's just the fucking business of music.
Right. And it doesn't happen overnight, but I thought that for all the grinding we did do before the pandemic, to be able to come back this year and do a handful of, you know, direct support slots for big bands, and then not be a you got to sell 100 tickets, kid type of a thing. I said, okay, well, you know, it's a little bit of a progress, you know, a little bit of an up, you know.
Yeah.
And then when we did our headlining show like 2 weeks ago, it was fantastic, you know. So we're definitely looking to do more headlining stuff, and maybe you guys, we can have a conversation after the show. I'm definitely looking to come back to the Michigan area. I definitely got ties with Cincinnati and Fort Wayne, and we might even be putting the song on the radio in February. So I think we're looking to do some headlining support slots in you know, February, early March, and then, you know, fingers crossed, hopefully we can secure a support tour and finally kind of get back to where we were supposed to be. I mean, I always say it's cliche, but you know, you live and learn. You make your mistakes. You know, it was our first record deal, and the record kind of was dropped in one shot. We didn't really do like the, you know, single to single kind of follow up thing. We kind of just did a one and done, and then just toured on that one and done for 2 years, and there was no real follow up. You know, and there was no time to record anything new because we just kept touring. So we're kind of hoping to do things like the right way this time, you know, and just kind of release single by single for a bit and just kind of rebuild things. But yeah, I sometimes feel like, you know, if the pandemic hadn't happened, you know, maybe we would have been one more single away, or maybe one more big tour away from getting to that next, you know, that next level of fan base and stuff. And obviously, from big bands to small bands like us, you know, this really took the wind out of our sails. I mean, so many bands, you know, called it a day. There was a period of time where I thought maybe we wouldn't get back together. I was still very optimistic during this whole thing, and some of my guys were really down in the dumps. It took us a while to like get back in the studio. When we first got back in the studio, like the band was not playing good. People had bad attitudes, and it was discouraging. I said, guys, like, it's gonna suck for a little bit. We kind of have to put the work back in and find that groove again, you know, after like not playing together. And I think I'm only just starting to find my stride again live now after all these shows, you know, after not playing around for a while. I think the first couple shows I was a little stiff. I wasn't totally loose and comfortable. But now I'm ready to, you know, kill it. I'm really hoping for a very positive next year with new singles and one-offs, and really the goal, like I said, is to get back on that national tour. That's really what we want to do. So.
As much as the pandemic really sucked for like everybody, I feel like from a smaller band perspective, it kind of gave a lot of us almost a more level playing field than like before the internet. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, everything got like a lot of local venues shut down, but it gave a lot of like smaller bands the opportunity to get on those bigger shows, because when those bigger bands started going out, they're not going to get, oh, so-and-so is going to buy onto our tour for $2,500 a night. Now we actually need to like make our own money, but we also need to fill these slots. And you know, I think we were fortunate enough, not even just Ricky and I, but even like the other project that I'm in, we got to benefit by playing some really big shows, like Lapeer Days. I think we played for like over 1,000 people. Like, I normally in the past, it would have been like, okay, well, like we'll have you, but like depending on how many tickets you sell on this, you know what I mean? There was all that fucking red tape. And I feel like the bands that really tried got some really good opportunities and saw like, hey, like this is what I could get. I'm hoping that fucking continues, because there are a lot of bands out there that are fucking killing it, still doing great things. And I'm hoping that trickles down to, you know, the smaller bands being able to maybe get on a support slot, like you're saying, with a band that maybe would have been out of reach unless you had like 20 or 30 grand laying around.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. There's still a lot of that. There was definitely some tours that we wanted to get on that were asking for stupid money. And then even there was some tours that we thought would be a shoo-in for, that the promoters just straight up said, listen, you know, you're cool and everything, but just because of projections, we're actually not going to take a support band out. We're just going to have a shit ton of local bands just sell a bunch of tickets, which I thought, well, I mean, I guess there's pros and cons to that, you know, which that was a little discouraging, because I was kind of like, are you basically saying that you don't have confidence in your headliner, you know, and or support act like us to pull our weight? You need a bunch of rando local bands to sell a shit ton of tickets. So obviously we didn't get that tour, and you know, that's being announced now with local band. And again, you know, good for the local band.
Yeah, I mean, like that kind of helps them out too, because it could have been that band that like normally local bands wouldn't be able to do a support slot on, and then boom, that opportunity opens up. It's not bad, it just didn't work for you. You know what I mean?
Correct. Right, exactly. Right.
So a thing I was going to say, you know, because we're at 9 o'clock and Kevin has to go to work in his new douchey job, you know,
gotta make that money, baby.
You know, you last time we talked to you, you know, back in March of 2020, you know, you were talking about record labels and how, you know, you were looking for new ones. You were trying to see what was out there. You know, what transpired between March of 2020 and now? Are you putting this out on a label, or are you doing it completely yourselves? You know, how are you approaching this one?
Yeah, so pretty much and it's funny too, man. I hope people appreciate my interviews. I'm so brutally honest. Like I talk so much music business, but you know, we were signed to Cleopatra Records, and there was an option for renewal. It was expired by both parties. We had a great conversation in January of 2020 with some money on the table, and then the pandemic happened, and then no one told me that my A&R guy actually left the label. I never heard from him again. So we basically just became disconnected from Cleo. And now we're just on our new management's distribution deal, which is called Label Group. So really right now we're just kind of doing like a DIY, but still with industry support. So, you know, we're going to be just doing singles with everyone that works in the industry, anybody that works Spotify or radio or PR, that for all the major labels, we have all those people at our disposal to help us with it. So it's still kind of like a, you know, an indie or major label effort, but still DIY. So that's kind of what we're doing. And, you know, once we rebuild the brand, you know, if there's a label that makes sense to, you know, do something bigger with, we'll do that. But right now I'm kind of trying to be more new school and just say, hey, you know, it's a digital world, and let's just rebuild the brand with these singles and take it from there. Because at the end of the day, if a label's not going to invest big money or basically get you on to a big tour, it almost doesn't really make sense just to say, oh, we're on like such and such a label. Like we're technically on a label right now. You could say that, but you know, you know, some bands get signed these like little labels and they try to act like they've made it like it's such a big deal. And it's like, well, someone's helping you, but I mean, unless they're putting $1 million into you, I mean, you're not that much different than the next guy,
right?
You know, realistically. So that's where we're at.
All right, need to shout out a couple people who popped in who I'm sure are fans of your guys. Nicole Camarota, you know the name?
Maybe.
Okay. Another name, Lisa Starchak, chimed in the chat. You know Lisa Starchak?
One of our big supporters from Maryland.
Maryland, okay, super cool. And yeah, she was pretty much going crazy. She's like, Core Rozzik, super talented. Amazing live show. Love the theatrics. A lot of devil horns. Scrolling up, local guitarist, my buddy Aaron Lumsden from the Band of Silence said, what do you say? Interesting mix of King Diamond and Avenged Sevenfold. Yes. I heard some Rob Zombie for the last song we played. Looking forward into 2022. That's when it seems like to me everything's going to start kicking into high gear for you guys. You guys are hopefully going to be going balls out. What is your goal? Would you rather, do another headlining thing, all on your own, do that? Or are you looking at some bigger tours? Because you did that run with Nita Strauss a year or so ago. What are you looking at for 2022?
I think it's going to be a mix of the two. I think at this point we can certainly do small rooms and do the headlining thing with good local support and make some good moments with that. We're definitely going to do that. But yeah, the goal is to get on a big tour. And I think what we've also spoke with management, if for some reason the bigger tours are being, difficult with stupid asking money buy-ons and things like that, we might put together a smaller package with a couple other bands of our same size and just put a package together and just do that. So there's a lot of different ideas going around right now, but either way, one way or another, we will be on the road next year. That's for sure.
So Are there any places that you want to go that you haven't been to yet? Or on the other side, places you have gone where you're like, God, I don't want to play there again?
No, not at all. I think at this point, I think our bread and butter is definitely the Midwest. We want to get back to, really want to build Michigan. We want to go back and secure our markets in Ohio and Kentucky. Want to go back to Texas. Really need to go to Wisconsin. That's where the radio is at. And I think we want to go a little bit more south. We've been doing the Baltimore thing. We've been building the PA thing. I definitely want to get into Virginia and get back to the Carolinas. We kind of just want to go back to everywhere we've been and just do bigger and better. But I think East Coast, Midwest is where we're at. West Coast is quite a bit of a drive, and LA is very much like New York City. It's kind of a jaded crowd. Everyone's like, "Oh, you do so great in LA." It's like, maybe, I don't know, but I'm not too high on that. I think I want to work mostly the Midwest. I think that's where the most hungry fans are.
The West is a lot of ground to cover. Speaking from someone that's booked tours out there, especially if you have limited, days and then financials, it can be tough. But I think you guys would kill it. East Coast, going down to Florida, obviously Texas. Plus, if it's cold up here, go down south, enjoy the warm weather.
Absolutely.
All right, you got anything to throw out there before we let you go?
Just want to thank all the locos for, sticking with us and keeping it real. Vengeance is Not Enough is officially out. The video is on YouTube. Check it out. And we are on all the streaming platforms. So stream, order on Amazon, order on iTunes, Apple Music, whatever you use. But the single is out. So spin it, crank it, and share, player.
Oh, yeah.
There it is. Core Rozzik, everybody. One of my favorite bands that we've had here on Rocks 100. Love you, bro. And we're going to definitely talk. Me, you, and Kev are going to work some shit out, help you guys out.
Sounds good, bro. We'll talk.
All right, man. Talk to you later.
Later.
See you.
All right. That was Core Rozzik. Let me switch back over this, and then we will wrap the show up.
Tour down to Florida, casting Shadows and Core Rozzik. That sounds like it'd be pretty cool.
Oh, I got to rearrange these cameras again. God, I should probably work on that. Okay. So what were some cool takeaways you took away from the Core Rozzik interview?
I think how more in depth he looks into just the writing and the performance standpoint than a lot of bands do. Super cool. Obviously, you could tell from the style of music, it leads credence to they're probably going to be one of those bands that's a little more theatrical, just because of how they write. Ice Nine Kills, he referenced them. If you heard them without actually seeing any of their shit, you probably would figure, oh, this is going to be a big, huge production.
Right.
and their videos and all that shit are basically that. But I think the fact that he had referenced like the whole concept album, that's tough to pull off.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be that band that's like, oh, every album's going to be different, or what do we expect on the next one? You walk a really fine line that you just have to have it, and you kind of don't know until it's out.
Well, and the thing is, with concept records, it's, I'm a fan of them. I love concept records. For my my short ass attention span, I actually love concept records. But the problem is getting that one song that you can pull out from that and have it be a single, a hit.
And the thing with that is, I feel like once you get big enough to where it is that level, you don't have to worry about it. And I think what you're saying is totally valid. Like Devil Wears Prada, like there's numerous bands that have done concept albums. And if those albums didn't kill it the way they did, I don't think you could just pick that single out.
It's like,
it's a really like slippery slope.
The huge purveyors of the concept record is Pink Floyd. The Wall, and what was that other one that they named after somebody? The Who Did Tommy, and then there was the Pink Floyd had a couple of them. But it's like picking out a single out of that, and you all right?
Yeah, I had an itch.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like, fuck you, Ricky. You're dogging Pink Floyd. It's like pulling something out of that, it's like in modern days, the only ones that I can really think of that had hits off of them as far as concept records would be like American Idiot by Green Day and the 6 a.m. Heroin Diaries soundtrack. You could, I was gonna throw it out to him. Like, you can't play Christmas in Hell from the Heroin Diaries and play it and be like, what the fuck is this? This is fucking weird filler thing, but they have the hits and all that. As Rozzik does, I feel Vengeance Overdrive is a hit, that we played at the top of the show. I could hear that on FM radio and be like, okay, this fits, so that's, to me, that's the hard thing about doing a concept record is making a story, but still having that one.
I feel like if the music's good enough, you'll be able to pick that one out.
That you can pick it out and be like, okay, this is the Wall. I already said The Wall, but taking this brick out and playing that and having that stand alone.
But that, I mean, that just, like I said, points to the band being really good.
Yeah.
Like if you can write a concept album that has one hit, and I'm not saying you have to write a concept album that only has one hit, but if you can pick out just one song and it fits, you could play the show in sunny Florida or wherever, and it's not going to be like, oh, like, this is obviously not going to fit.
Steve Engyel wants them out in Toronto, so they got to cross some borders there, and then he also throws out Rush 2112, which is another concept record. I was never a huge Rush fan. So
I loved Rush.
I had no fucking idea. So, super cool. Rozzik, I feel bad. All the times they've come to Detroit, I've had other shit going on, so I could never make it out.
That's why we should just go out with them.
And
then you have no excuse.
There we go. Make that happen, Kevin Raslog, Site Set North Booking Agency.
Core, hit me up.
So super cool.
You're just going to have to deal with our shenanigans.
Well.
We'll be direct support, no problem.
I don't know if anything with Jeff Land. I think that's he's the party animal, dude.
Right.
So super cool talk with Rozzik out of Queens, New York. Definitely check him out. If the videos, if not anything, should be inspiration enough to go check him out.
I mean, I've known about this guy for a minute. Like even when I first started booking.
Yeah.
And their band has just continually, kept grinding, moving their way up the fucking totem pole. So I mean, it's nice to see a familiar name still doing it, still fucking kicking, and putting out fucking good music. Awesome to see.
So super cool. Need to throw this out before I wrap this thing up. Then I'm gonna play another New York band called No, not Kissing Candles. I don't have any of that. Makes My Blood Dance, a good friend of mine, Evan Saffer's band. They had a whole bunch of hullabaloo with shady shit going on, but I still love the band. But so we're going to play that to close the show out. But I need to throw out sponsor, IHatePeople.club, vulgar clothing for the introvert and all of us, independent, local Detroit clothing line. Check them out, IHatePeople.club. Use coupon code ROXX100 for 20% off your entire order. Make sure you hit up our Patreon if you dig what you are hearing and want us to keep this going. Me without a job, it's getting harder and harder every month to justify paying for all of this shit. And if you head on over to patreon.com/ROXX100 for only, I think the lowest one is like $5 a month. It's a Starbucks coffee a month, and you can help support independent music, getting guys like Rozzik on the show and getting their music out to at least a couple more people. That's
the
all.
masses.
The masses, if the masses are under a dozen people. So head on over there, like to grow this thing. I finally paid my last thing. So everything in the studio is paid off now. After 2.5 years, it's finally paid off.
You need to upgrade.
Now I have to buy another mic because we're supposed to have Jason Kane in the studio, and he doesn't want to do a phone in. He wants to be live. So I have to throw out another $700. So next week on the show, we're going to be talking to Stephen Lynch, the guitar player from Taylor Road out of Danville, Kentucky. He was supposed to do it tonight, but he is opening for Liliac, which Rozzik talked about opening shows for them. They're supposed to be on today, but moved it to next week, so super cool. And we are going to be filling in the rest of 2021. What year is it? 2021.
What year is it?
I don't have... I've worked 4 weeks in the last 6 months, bro. I don't know what fuck year it is
Fair
anymore.
enough.
So super cool. We'll be filling that up. Next week, we'll be on the show, like I said, with Stephen Lynch from Taylor Road. If I hadn't, I could probably do the music video after this song, and I'll do that. So, Raz, what's going on for this next week? What's the big plans?
New job, man. That's all I got.
Excited?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just excited to get that first fucking paycheck, honestly.
Okay. Oh, must be nice. And if you like what we're doing here on YouTube Live, make sure you throw us a like and subscribe so you get reminded every single time that we go live. It's only once a week, so it's not going to be blowing up your phone.
Yeah, your notifications are going to be very gentle.
Yeah,
we're just going to slide in there.
Yeah, every Sunday night from 7 to 9-ish p.m. So that's what's up. Make sure you like, subscribe, send this to all of your friends on social media, share it, and do the bit. Let's grow this thing like we're trying to grow independent bands. So that's what's up. So we're going to close this out. Beaming Right Up by Makes My Blood Dance I think they're out of Brooklyn. And then we'll play, what was I going to play? Oh, yeah, I was going to play some Taylor Road. We'll play that to close the show out. We'll be talking to guitar player Stephen Lynch next week on the big show. And what else do I have? Oh, head on over to ROXX100.com. The website is up. Hit up our gift shop. I do have a few original ROXX100 t-shirts available. I'll throw in some CDs, some stickers, some goodies along with it. So that's what's up. That's what I got.
There you go.
All right, so here's Makes My Blood Dance out of Brooklyn, New York. We will both talk to you guys next week on the big show. Next week, big episode number 126. We're coming up quick on episode number 156, which is when I ended the Rikki ROXX effect.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so
Doomsday.
So this might be the longest running show that I've ever done.
And then Ricky's going to nuke it.
And then I'm going to nuke. I'm going to blow the whole thing up. Thanks for your money and peace. All right, so we'll talk to you guys next week right here on ROXX100.com.
Beam it right up, and
The torch is lit, watch the fire rise. Smoke so thick, it burns your eyes. I feel this weight from deep inside. Pent up rage, I can't disguise. My heart is racing, my ears they ring. The embers scorching, they crackle and sing. With pupils wide, I begin to bass. I'm gonna put you in your fucking place. One for my mother and one for my father. One for the sisters and one for the daughters. You were the cannon and we were the fodder. You sold my heart like a lamb to the slaughter. You wanted all. The final blow. Tried our trust, you cut all ties. Buried in your grave of countless lies. You disrespect and patronize. See the world through devil's eyes. You broke our hearts, you broke our home. I'll rip your mind out, I'll burn your throne. Your judgment's here with no soul to sell. I'm gonna send you straight to hell. One for my mother and one for my father. One for the sisters and one for the daughters. You were the cannon and we were the fodder. You sold my heart like a lamb to the slaughter. You wanted all. The final blow. One for my mother and one for my father. One for the sisters and one for the daughters. You were the cannon and we were the fodder. You sold my heart like a lamb to the slaughter. You wanted all. The final blow. One for my mother and one for my father. One for the sisters and one for the daughters. You were the cannon and we were the fodder. You sold my heart like a lamb to the slaughter. You wanted all. The final blow. You wanted all. The final blow. Ricky Rocks, Ricky Rocks. It's Ricky Rocks, coming out of the box. Bitches come in flocks, trying to steal his jocks. He needs to be contained with padded rocks. It's the Ricky Rock Show, spreading like the pox. Ricky Rocks, Ricky Rocks. Ricky Rocks, Ricky Rocks, yeah. Ricky Rocks, Ricky Rocks. Ricky Rocks, Ricky Rocks, yeah. Ricky Rocks up in your grill, motherfucker.
Hey, this is Ricky Rocks, and you are listening to Rocks100.com.